And welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. On today's episode, I just want to talk about the market. You know what? Every day I'm like, there's nothing more could actually happen in the Pokemon market. Nothing could be more exciting than, yesterday or the day before, or a month from now. And every day I'm just shocked by how much stuff is still constantly happening. And I guess there's a couple big things that happened recently. You have the Logan Paul fake uh, sealed case, whatever you want to call it. You have PSA's prices changed, back down to $100. They opened up that tier again. And then there's a lot of other little things sprinkled in there just going on right now in the market. So I kind of want to just talk about a little bit of them, cover them all. So I guess the first thing we'll talk about the Logan Paul, what appears to be a very fake sealed first edition booster box case. So if you guys are not familiar with him, I know I've shared one of his videos on my channel before, but Rattle Pokemon, he has a great channel. I've been really trying hard to get him to come on this channel and do a live with us one day. Hopefully, maybe you guys could, leave him a comment down in one of his videos, say, hey, you should really go on to Poke Knowledge's live stream because I think he's a good guy to talk to. He's definitely like peeling back a lot of the layers, talking about some of the more questionable slash scammy stuff that's going on in the hobby. So he's a good channel. I definitely recommend you guys giving him a subscribe if you haven't already. But anyways, he did a real deep like dive into how that Logan Paul sealed booster case can be fake. And now the famous video I guess he made was his most recent video, but he had actually made a video, I want to say a few days before that was actually the first one that I watched. And I'll tell you right now, from everything he said, and me and You Say Booyah was in Nick Old School Pokemon's live stream with Catch 'em All Collectibles, and me and him were going back and forth in the comments, and I was saying, hey man, I think that sealed case is fake, and he was also agreeing with me saying, yeah, that sealed case is fake. And then Rattle Pokemon's video came out, I think it was today actually, or yesterday, but it's kind of like, if you think about it, it doesn't make sense. And the reason why I say that this fake sealed case doesn't make sense is there's got to be something going on a little more than me or you know. And the reason why is now the authenticity of the case. Obviously, you guys probably already know the backstory. And if you don't, I'll give you the real quick rundown. The story of the person that sold that booster box case changed three times. It went from they got the booster box as a present when they turned 12. Then it turned into they bought a house and they found it in an attic. And then the third one was they found it at like an estate sale. And it was just sitting on a table, a magical sealed, uh, unopened box of first edition, booster boxes, which is ridiculous. So then he posted it for sale on eBay. It only sold for like $72,000. Keep in mind, it sold at the height of 2020. So everyone at this point knows that just one booster box is worth more than $72,000. So to sell the entire case for that price is ridiculous. And then there was a lot of people who saw this booster box come up and said, listen, I will buy this booster box. And trust me, for $70,000, I would have bought that sealed case on one condition. And probably the one condition that every single person would ask for is I need to open that case before I buy it from you. And I will fly out there, I will open that case and let me look at it. Me personally, did I say that to him? No. But if I knew that case was for sale, and I wouldn't even say if I knew it was for sale, if I knew that case was actually legit, but it wasn't. There was not really a shred of doubt in anybody's mind of whether or not that case was real. But everyone that did reach out to him and said, listen, I'll fly out there, let me open up the case, let me verify its contents that yes, it does indeed have 6 sealed first edition booster boxes, and I will buy it from you. And I'm sure he would have got way more than $72,000. But he said no. He didn't want to do that. And anytime anybody is unwilling to open up anything for you in order for them to get a 10x on their money, that sealed case would have went from 72,000 or whatever he sold it off to probably at the time $1 million, not the 3.5 that Logan Paul just paid, because you got to keep in mind that when that booster box case sold, booster boxes are probably still only at like the 200,000 mark, and all that 200,000 was because of Logan Paul anyways. If you went pre Logan Paul first edition booster box break, you're talking even way less than that, but it was still at the height. And now the crazy thing is about this story that doesn't make sense is all the people that were verifying that this thing was real. And I've never, ever in my entire like time collecting Pokemon has ever heard anybody talk about verifying sealed cases. And I know a lot of people like to own sealed cases because it is like that one extra thing you can do, especially when it comes to booster boxes. Like, yeah, I have these sealed booster boxes, but I also have the sealed case, and people like to have that. But they like to have it because most of the time, not all the time, but for the majority of the time, they bought that sealed case. So all the booster boxes that are in that sealed case, they don't need to crack it open to verify its contents, because they have a very good lineage of how those booster boxes were bought. And honestly, most of the time, if not almost 100% of the time, that sealed case was purchased by them. So, if you're getting it straight from distributors, like, yeah, there's no reason you got to crack it open. But what I don't understand about this Logan Paul, sealed case, and this is what I was alluding to earlier in the video, is there's no way by this point, if not earlier, he didn't know the questionable origins of this sealed case. And that's the thing I don't understand. And yeah, I think a lot of people will just come right out and say, well, Logan Paul, he's a multi-millionaire and he could afford to take a risk on $3.5 million. I think we're giving him a little bit too much credit in the sense that how much money he has, and we're not giving him enough credit for how intelligent somebody who is that rich must really be. Like, there's no way he is a stupid person. And there's no way that he just willy-nilly throws around $3.5 million. When you're talking about $3.5 million, that is not a small, insignificant amount of money. That is not chump change. That is a substantial amount of money. So for him to go and buy this booster box without anybody surrounding him, and you would think like, okay, Logan Paul has made huge mistakes in the past when he surrounded himself with like Mr. Clean, aka Mr. $30,000 Bulbasaur. When you surround yourself with people like that in the hobby, yeah, you can be like, yeah, that was probably not the best thing he did. But then you got to keep saying to yourself, there's no way he can make that mistake again. Now, for the people, whoever he went to for advice, whoever he talked to about this sealed case, for nobody to bring to his attention the questionable, like, I don't think that this case is real. Logan, you probably shouldn't buy this case. And if you do buy this case, man, you should probably just spend the, I don't know, 10 seconds it takes to cut that box open and verify its contents. Now, I think the most damning part of that booster case, which Rattle Pokemon had pointed out at the end of his video, is the stop tape. Like, the stop tape that was on that box was definitely like the more generic stop tape you can buy just on, I don't know if it's eBay or Etsy or one of those places. But like, he made it very clear, like, it's missing a capital letter and it's missing a period. And he went through like Jungle first edition booster boxes, Fossil first edition boxes. So we do know of one case of first edition booster boxes, and Gary King Pokemon owns the only real one. And even he questioned its authenticity. And he cracked that open, and yes, it did actually contain 6 first edition booster boxes, but even his stop tape had a capital letter and like a period. So the fact that there's just all these things stacking up on top of each other for this booster box or booster case to actually be fake is almost like insurmountable at this point. And that's why I said there's never a dull moment in the hobby, because there's gonna eventually be enough pressure on Logan Paul that he needs to crack open this booster box. Now, one of the things that Rattle brought up a lot is he talked about the people that often who like authenticate. Well, wow, I just had a little stroke right there. But who make sure the packs are real and who do the pack grading for PSA. And he was bringing up a lot of questionable emails from the owner saying like that it's really hard for people to reseal foil packs and like people aren't really doing it yet. And there's not a lot of reason that people would do this. And a lot of people think that it's impossible. If you guys have watched this channel enough, you know very well that to reseal foil packs is not hard. And I'm actually probably, after I finish this live stream, now that I just thought about it, I'm going to reach out to Rattle on Instagram and see if he has a P.O. box or something, and I could send him, I'll reseal a pack, and I'll send it to him, and I'll see if he could actually tell, because Rattle has opened a lot of cards, and just for the sake of science, not for the sake of trying to scam him, he's going to know it's resealed. But I'm going to send him, a resealed pack, and I want to see if he could actually identify it as a resealed pack. Now, the reason why I say that is because if somebody like him, who has opened up hundreds and hundreds of packs, multiple booster boxes in his lifetime, if he can't easily identify a pack that he actually knows is resealed because the guy who sent it to him in the mail said, hey, I resealed this just for you, it would really bring up a lot of questions for me personally, for anybody verifying packs at PSA. And the reason why I say that is because for really good resealed packs, and this is in my opinion, but a really good resale pack, if it's done properly, you really should not be able to know. And I know a lot of people, they talk about like all the issues that go on, but a really good resale, you won't be able to tell. Now, I know PSA for a fact has regraded resealed packs in the past. And there's probably a lot of people at home sitting on packs that were graded by PSA that they honestly believe are authentic, but they're not. They might have real Pokemon cards in it, but they've either been searched or they're cards from a completely different set. Now, the thing is, it's that stuff takes a really, really, really long time to weed itself out and actually come to light because most people do not open up their sealed graded pack cases. So if PSA has obviously, and we all know this, have graded, resealed packs in the past, and that is probably one of the easier things to do in the hobby is to verify packs being authentic and not resealed, but it's not like impossible, like I said, to put through fake packs, but to verify a sealed case, like I don't even know how you would go about it. And to say that this conversation isn't being happened on a very high end would be very untrue to say, because trust me, this conversation talking about this sealed case, the conversations I've been asked, so some of the people in this hobby that have the like greatest understanding of sealed vintage WotC product. Me personally, nobody could come up to me and ask me to verify a sealed, case of WotC booster boxes. I would be the first person to tell them I cannot do that. And I will look at it because I mean, that's just out of my sheer curiosity. I would like to see it and I will give them my honest opinion. But I would never in a million years put my name on that and say that, yes, I verified that and I believe it to be 100% true because there's no way. And even like people on the highest end who would have the most knowledge about stuff like that. And again, when you talk about sealed cases of vintage product, you can have a lot of people who have sealed booster boxes. But when you go past that level and you go to the sealed case level, the amount of people with knowledge even gets cut. I wouldn't even say that knowledge gets cut in half. That knowledge gets cut to like a 1% population of this entire hobby, if not drastically less. Because I would say out of, the however many people are subscribed to this channel, however many people will watch this video when this live stream's all said and done and the last view of this video happens, I would say out of all the viewers, there will probably be like maybe one viewer who had actually seen a sealed vintage, case of WotC product. Like it is Very, very rare. So it brings up that question again is there's no way, Logan Paul could be this stupid. I just don't believe it. So, me putting on my tinfoil hat now, I'm just thinking like, what can be the end game in this, right? Because there's Logan Paul is a content creator. He does everything for content. When he buys a $3.5 million sealed case, he does that as an investment for his channel, for his brand, for his hype or whatever. Like when me and you buy a sealed pack, it's a little different. Like maybe I would have the luxury of opening it on this channel, but trust me, I don't make any sort of ad revenue to pay for even a sealed pack. Now, he could potentially write these booster boxes off as business expenses because, that's his business, his live stream or whatever. So, with that said, there's no way he spent $3.5 million and somebody wasn't chirping in his ear telling him that this thing is very questionable, if not like guaranteed to be fake. Now, I will be very interested to see that thing open because there will be a lot of people saying, I told you so. Now, if you were to ask me, like percentage wise, what percent do I think that case gets open and we're all wrong? I would say it's like probably like a 5% chance that box is actually real. But for all the things that would need to happen for that sealed case to be real is, like the barcodes would have to be different. The stop tape would have to be different. Like the actual condition of the box, the label would have to be different. Like all these things would have to be different about that, first edition case opposed to every other first edition case that has ever existed. Think about that. Would you ever want to take that risk when every single thing, and keep in mind, this is a sealed case. There is not like a lot of things you can look at on literally a cardboard box to say if this thing is authentic or not. But literally every single thing that you can look at on that case is not right. Like that is an insane just thing to think about. Like that every single thing that could be wrong is in fact wrong. Barcodes, labels, stop tape, like the color, the ink or whatever, the label, like everything is wrong. So I'd say I'll give them the benefit of doubt, 5%, like I said, that case ends up being real. But now, when that thing is open, it's going to be very similar to like when the dumb money guys opened up that first edition booster box and it ended up being fake. And not only did it end up being fake, it ended up being like a really bad fake too. It had like base set 2 cards in it, but then it had cards from like 2020. And if you remember Mr. $30,000 Bulbasaur, when he talked about that case before, or the sealed box before he sold it to the dumb money guys, he was like, yeah, I know the seller really well. He had it stored in like a gun safe with 2 other boxes like that his parents bought him and he never opened them. Like, first of all, anytime somebody gives you a backstory where it starts off with, I found it in an attic, or I found it in a basement, or I found it at an estate sale or a tag sale or the flea market, or, my neighbor's cat gave it to me. Like, if anybody starts with any of those lines, just instantly know it's probably fake. Because I'm going to tell you right now that we've gotten to the point in the hobby that first edition booster boxes aren't really going to be like going under the radar anymore. Like that is very few and far between will that ever happen. Especially the reason why is because that case or that booster box, if it was in fact bought for somebody, trust me, in the back of my head somewhere, even if I might have forgot, if my mother or my grandparents bought me a sealed case of first edition booster boxes and I put it in the garage or I put it in the attic, I would probably have remembered it by now because we're just normal human beings. So it's just like all these things are lining up. But I do believe that there's got to be some like behind the scenes play where maybe somehow Logan has just really good lawyers, or maybe whoever sold him that booster box signed some kind of contract where it's in fact not going to be paid for if it turns out to be fake. Or maybe Logan Paul, while he has now gained ownership of this sealed case, he hasn't actually paid for it yet. And in order for that person to be paid, like Logan Paul is going to open it up eventually on a live stream. But as we know, anytime a person like Logan Paul acquires anything, there is a timeline for him to actually make content. It's not like me or you when we get a pack in the mail or we get some nice shiny cardboard and we're like, oh, sweet, now I got this. Like, time for me to show it to the world. Like, his things are much more methodical, thought out, and like bigger productions. So maybe that's it. And again, even that's a stretch. That's just me giving total benefit of the doubt to him, because there's just no way. There's no way anybody can be that stupid. And the reason why I say that is I just don't see anyone spending $3.5 million on anything being that dumb. Out of all the people in here, uh, so Jackie Life said, "Hey, Poke Knowledge, just got here. What are you talking about?" I'm talking about how Logan Paul's sealed first edition booster box case is obviously fake, and not a question of if it's fake. It's obviously fake, like 100%, no doubt about it. So yeah, that's my thought on the sealed first edition case. Eventually, we're going to see it open. It's going to be awesome. Like, from us, consuming content, it's going to be fun. Everybody's going to get a good laugh. Like, it will be one of those things in the hobby that we'll talk about probably forever. And as bad as it is to say, like, yeah, we had a few memes come out of 2020, like one of the big memes being $30,000 Bulbasaur, and probably one of the memes that will come out of 2021, or sorry, 2022, because we're going into 2022, will be opening up a fake sealed case of first edition booster boxes that somebody was dumb enough to pay $3.5 million for. So that was the first thing I want to talk about on this stream. The second thing I want to talk about now is PSA has finally opened up their $100 tier for grading. Now, if you guys don't know, like, PSA obviously been closed for a long time. And so I did crack that Hypno on either my last live stream or the stream before. That was one of the cards that I sent away, the PSA at the $100. I just sent it away today. So right now, PSA's turnaround time for their $100 tier is allegedly 90 days. Now, I'm really hoping that 90 days is the higher end of what they expect. I'm really hoping that I get that card back much faster. I sold away 4 other cards. I know I had mentioned in a live stream before that I was thinking about sending the Japanese stamp promos, but I ended up deciding against it, and I really thought long and hard about whether or not it actually made sense to send those, because I was like, the market on these might drop a little bit. And my whole thought process was just to have them grade, hopefully get 10s, turn around, flip those cards, and then just rebuy the product and have all the stuff inside as extras, maybe make a couple bucks. But I was like, man, it's not really worth it. And then even with the Hypno, now, if you don't know what the Hypno is, it's the hollow Hypno from Aquapolis. I got from GMA, graded a 10 at GMA, but it was definitely like PSA 10 worthy. So I cracked it and resubmitted it. But the thing too is, if that card gets a 9 now at $100 grading, 200 to acquire that card plus 100 to grade it brings it to like a 300 break even point. Like, that's like break even at 9. So it is like a very risky thing to do. And now this is the thing too that I had to think long and hard about, was as I was sending it out, I'm like, man, this thing grades a 10. I don't even know if I want to go through with everything I said I was going to do, because my whole thought process was I'd buy that card, I'd crack it open on the stream, we would send it away, then we would have it come back, and then I would sell that card at PWCC and, get whatever I think the market value is, between $500 to $600 and a 10. So I would be like, I made 100% of my money by literally doing nothing, by just cracking a slab and submitting it. But then I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, this card comes back at 10, I'm probably going to keep it. So if that does happen, that just destroys the third part of that video. like the crack to the send away to the return to the sell. Like, so I want to know down in the chat what you guys would do. Would you keep that Hypno for your personal collection if it does come back a 10, which I think it's gonna? And if it comes back a 9 and it's just the break even, I'll probably keep that as well. And trust me, there's no way this card comes back below a 9. Like, that's one thing I'm very confident about. It's either a 9 or a 10. So it's either a break even, and even at $300, like that's a tough break even. Like, I'm sure you could probably maybe even find some auctions that may be sold for like a little over 200. So that 300 break even could be tough, but at a 10, I'll make money. But I would want to know if you guys would keep it or not. Maybe we'll do like I don't know. I have a bunch of those Hypnos in like some ratty condition too in reverse hollow, and I think I have like a real low PSA 7 reverse hollow. Like, maybe we could do a giveaway. You know, I never do giveaways on this channel. I should, but I do have some of the other cards that I was considering sending away, but then I don't know. The thing is, with $100 PSA grading fee, is you take a lot of risk by sending cards away for $100, because in this hobby there is not a ton of cards that are worth it to send away at $100 that you haven't already sent, if that makes sense. Like, if you have cards that are, yeah, they're worth it to send at like a 200 or 300 or whatever grading fee, you probably already done it. Like I said, maybe there's some like super ultra modern chase cards, like some people would take the gamble to send away, but not me. So I got a pile of cards here that I was gonna send away, and I chickened out because, you know, these are all cards that I think will get a 10, but I can't take the risk of these getting 9s for $100 grading fee. So I don't know. Usually I don't show these kind of stuff, but I figure because the cards were already out here and I had already pulled them out, like, I'll show them. I'll let you guys tell me if you know which card these are. So this was the first card I was going to send. It's Aerodactyl EX from Sandstorm. Like, this is definitely like the card I would say has the highest, like, well, no, maybe probably the second highest likelihood of a 10. Second card I thought about sending away, which again I chickened out, because the thing about these cards is the price difference, and this is the biggest duh ever, but the price difference between some of these cards I'm going to show you between a 9 and a 10 are like drastic. And when you talk about $100 grading fee, like if these were $30 grading fees or something, like they're no brainers for 9s or 10s, but that 100, it's like, this thing grades a 9. Like, this is like, I'll give you an example. Like, this was one of the cards I was going to send away. It's a Mewtwo EX. I'll show you the back of it. So there's this little corner right there by my thumb that is a little beat up. That corner is nice. That corner is, do you see a little whitening? I mean, this card I thought was going to get like a high likelihood of a 10, but with that little bit of like whitening, you can't take the risk. And yeah, so this is Ruby Sapphire. So if you guys know, Ruby Sapphire was the very first Nintendo set after like Wizard of the Coast lost the rights to Pokemon. So the last 3 e-reader sets were Expedition, Aquapolis, Skyridge, and then this was the very first Nintendo set. So then you had, this was Ruby Sapphire, and then EX Sandstorm, and then EX Dragon was number 3. But I mean, some people like these cards, some people don't. Like, I'll try to focus this Aerodactyl. I know it's hard, but like if you look at the Aerodactyl, like the color scheme of this, it's just it's a beautiful card. Like, these are the kind of cards you got to hold in your hand to really appreciate. So I was gonna send those, and then this one was probably a weak 10, maybe a 9. This is a Lapras EX again from Ruby Sapphire. And then I just had some Neo Destiny cards I was going to send, but they're unlimited. It's like a Espeon and a Tyranitar. But I don't know. The Espeon I think would get a 10. The Tyranitar I'm not sure. Like, I'll show you the back. So this is the Espeon. I'll show you the back of that. But this card is really clean. But I don't know, guys. Like I said, that's the thing. That's the thing that's really hard. Like, I don't know. You can't justify sending cards away at $100 and potentially getting nines. Like I'll tell you right now, out of these 5 cards, like there's 2 of the 3 that I think are guaranteed tens, but the other 2 are not. So I just can't take the risk at $100, and it's really painful. But I don't know. It's tough. Like I don't know. Maybe I should have sent the Mewtwo. But you don't know. It's too hard to say. But yeah, I would say the Mewtwo and a 9. I I don't know, probably like $300 in a 9, maybe. But like in a 10, it's like the price is like double when you talk about these cards in a 10 versus a 9. You go from a $300 9 to potentially like $600 10. Like it's a freaking drastic difference. So, and then same thing with that the Hypno I sent. I was like, man, maybe this card makes more sense to just sit on and not send away right away. But then at the same time, I was like, I already like cracked this open on a live stream. Now I'm like emotionally invested in doing it. So I don't know. I do want to read the chat. I see a bunch of familiar names in here. Appreciate all you guys joining. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I don't. Cheval says old EX cards look way better once you see them in person. Yeah. Poke Collector said, do you think it's worth waiting for bulk prices for EX series hollows and EX? I mean, it's tough, right? Because I would say probably not bulk, because bulk I'm gonna guess that the maximum value for bulk is maybe gonna be like $299 maximum value. So some of these cards, like you that's where you have to like learn how to grade cards yourself, understand condition, be like, is this card really a 9 or is it a 10? Because then you're probably going to go over a lot of those bulk tier costs. Like this Mewtwo probably would get upcharged on me. I don't know, but I don't know. It's tough, like waiting on bulk. And I'm at the point now where I'm not sending any more cards away to CGC. I think I said that now, like on every single stream. I'm waiting on 2 CGC returns to come back, and the prices are just not there right now. So I'm done doing that after I get these 2 returns. And now this is the thing about CGC that just happened, like right before Christmas, is I had one submission that I'd sent away, and it got accepted at the end of June. It was like June 23rd or June 24th. And then I had another submission that I had sent away and got accepted on like August 3rd or August 4th. So there's literally like an entire month timeline between June 24th to August 4th, and both of those submissions got charged on the same exact day. Does that make any sense to you? So I don't know why CGC did that. I have a theory in my head that they just charged my card for both those submissions because of like maybe tax issues, or they're trying to show a lot of profit on their books for 2021. But if that's the case and CGC charged my card for my June submission and August submission, I could still be looking at those cards coming back in months. The timeline difference between them to get to a submission graded in June versus a submission graded in August could be an extremely, extremely long amount of time. And especially my August submission, that when that got accepted, that was like the very last one to be grandfathered into the $8.10 price. And I don't know if you guys remember, I had made a video talking about how the CGC website had crashed, and then I had contacted CGC customer support, and they allowed me to send my submission a little bit later. So it's literally like the last bulk submission that they accepted from those older tiers. And if the amount of submissions were enough to crash CGC's website, like there's no way that August submission is going to be like coming back at the same time as the June one. So I don't know. I know I'm hard on CGC. I know I talk trash about them all the time, but they do stuff like this that I don't like. I don't know. I think we give all grading card companies just too much leeway all the time. We're like too forgiving in a way, but we shouldn't be. Yeah, Anonymous says people are paying thousands to grade things for their personal collection. I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it either. Like, so with the exception of that Hypno, that is literally the very first, well, there's a couple cards I sent away with this submission, but it was less than 5, well, less than 6. But with that Hypno was well, in this lot was the very first submission that I sent away to PSA since their bulk tier has closed, and then they like closed, and then they only had the $600 tier open. Then they dropped it to the 300, to the 200, and now they're at or 150, 100, whatever. It's I can't even keep track of like their price tiers, but this $100 tier is the first one I sent it to. And like I said earlier, in Pokemon, there's just not a lot of cards that are worth it to send at $100, with the exception of tens. But like I said, you can't take the risk of sending away a card hoping for a 10 and getting a 9, not at $100. Like, I'm sure for sports and stuff like that, things that I'm not super familiar with, there's probably way more cards that are worth it. Well, like I said, even in Pokemon, trust me, if you guys had a card that was worth it to send away, you probably already would have at that higher tier. So, but yeah, Anonymous, that's a great question. And I don't understand why people pay a premium to grade their personal collection. I could understand the whole like short-term flippability or whatever, if you want to like play that game and send away cards because you're trying to like be first to the market or do something like that. But that is always one of those games, I tell you, is the riskiest game you could possibly play in Pokemon, is that whole first to market thing. Because yes, one thing the market has proved time and time again is if you are the first person in the market with a card, more likely than not, it's going to sell at a premium. We've seen it happen with literally every single Charizard that's came out in every single set for the last 4 years. But keep in mind, the people doing that, that is a very, very dangerous game. High upside, but high risk factor too. So I see Echo Base Collectibles is in the house. Hey, Echo Base, good to see you. Now, I'm going to give... I'll be nice. I'll give Echo Base Collectible a nice free shout out. So if you guys don't know who he is or what his channel is, he on his eBay page, he has a lot of actually pretty good deals for a lot of different like complete sets. If you're looking for just commons, uncommons, I think he has up right now on his eBay page like entire complete sets for the commons, uncommons, like I said, of like Team Rocket. I want to say maybe, I think the last video he did was Fire Red, Leaf Green. A bunch of like different EX sets, but he has the entire sets up there, commons, uncommons. And I looked at the prices for what he's selling, like all near mint, and I'll take his word for it. Like maybe I'll actually have to bite the bullet. And I own I own all those cards or all those sets completed already, but maybe I'll have to take the risk now that I just gave him a huge shout out, make sure they are in fact near mint. But I think the last video he did that I watched, he was selling Fire Red, Leaf Green complete sets of commons, uncommons. So like that's pretty good. And it was funny though, and when he talked about the Fire Red, Leaf Green set, he had talked about there's 2 Squirtles in that set, like 2 common Squirtles. There's like one Squirtle artwork that is nice, but then there's another Squirtle artwork, and I didn't hear him mention it. Maybe if he's still watching this video, he can let me know down in the comments. But in Fire Red, Leaf Green is actually like one of, if not my favorite ever Squirtle artwork, because it's Squirtle like jumping into a swimming pool. And if you guys are familiar with like their Nirvana Nevermind album cover, like with the with the Nirvana album cover, you got like the naked baby in the swimming pool. It's like a super iconic album cover, like everyone always talks about it. Well, the Squirtle, the artwork from that card is that exact artwork from like Nirvana's album cover with Squirtle, but it's an actual Pokemon card. And it's just one of those random like Pokemon artwork things that maybe people don't know exist. And he didn't mention that in his video. And I was like, why didn't you mention this, man? This is like everyone's favorite Squirtle artwork. Now, if you haven't seen it, like it's definitely one of those artworks I definitely recommend. And if you are a Nirvana fan and you are a Squirtle fan, this is a card that is a must own, and it is a common card. So it's not very rare that I shill up common cards, but trust me, now we're going to see a huge buyout on those Squirtle cards. But he was selling like complete common uncommon sets for like, I think I saw it for like $60 or something, like a pretty good deal. And now those are just things if you guys are trying to complete it. So yeah, I don't even see him in here, so maybe he already left, even though I just gave his eBay page a huge shout out. Maybe Echo could throw me a little kickback if he has one of those Squirtles in reverse hollow. Hit me up. So Pokin Fun said, did you send yourself or someone else? Because I seen Omash just had a bulk and economy set in the same time, done at the same time. Yeah, so I sent both my submissions myself, and I have actually very recently canceled my so I'm at like the higher tier there. CGC offers 3 different membership. There's like the $25 membership, the 125 or 150, and then like the high one, I think it's 229. So I had the middle tier. I just canceled it, but it's still good for a year, so it doesn't run out until March. But I don't see a reason to keep that. If I do have it back open, I might just go down to the $25 a year membership just to keep it open. Let's see. Fresh Fat says, I'm ready to grade cheap for my collection. Yeah, welcome to the club, man. We're all ready for that. Who knows when that's ever going to come. You said Booyah said the reverse hollow for that Squirtle isn't very common though, and he's right. I kind of didn't allude to that, but that Squirtle in reverse hollow is a very, very expensive reverse hollow. It's probably more expensive than most of those hollows in that set. But yeah. So this is I ask all the time. We need to get You Say Booyah on this channel on a live stream. I've asked him now multiple times. You say Booyah anytime you want. You let me know. We'll set it up. Me, you, with the chat. We'll do a live stream because you seem to know everything. Even the things that I don't say, he always says. And I was seeing in one of the other live stream, he even knows the things that I think other people don't know. Like Daniel says, Charizard EX a favorite in my collection. Is it me or is it slept on? Yes. You're correct though. It is slept on, believe it or not. I would say that yes. The Charizard EX, believe it or not, being a Charizard, I would still say is kind of slept on in comparison to the grand scheme of Charizards and Pokemon. I would say that the EX Charizard does not get as much love as it probably should in relative to everything else. People will look at the price of a EX Charizard and say, no, that's still a very expensive card. Listen, everything when I talk about this as being a slept-on card, being a Charizard, it's very relative. But I agree with him that is a very great point. And I'm actually kind of upset I said that because I'm actually following a Charizard EX right now that I'm trying to buy. Fresh Stat says, is that the one from McDonald's Squirtle? I don't know which McDonald's Squirtle you're talking about. I know you got like the Japanese McDonald's Squirtle, which maybe the Japanese Squirtle is a great representation of 2020 when he's blowing the huge bubble, and that's a McDonald's Squirtle. Now, wait, is the McDonald's Squirtle that artwork? I don't know, actually. Oh, that would be funny if it was. That would actually be a really cheap way to get that card then. Cheval says, PSA 10 reverse Squirtle for sale. $1,500. Yeah, I knew it was expensive. Uh, Australian Blastoid, it's good to see you in the chat. He said, knowledge. How dependent is vintage price increases on the success of ultra modern? I think everything runs in tandem, right? Like I do believe that the hype that went around modern definitely helped push up the prices of vintage. And yeah, you had like we're going to talk about them a lot this stream, but the Logan Paul influence on first edition base. But I think when you have a very strong modern market, it helps a lot for the vintage market. And I mean, I haven't really seen any correlation to say it's not really the case either, but I always think that as very true that it's when modern is strong, vintage is always strong too. But the thing about vintage, and we've talked about it a lot now, is that I see just so much potential in vintage, mainly due to rarity and scarcity for a lot of these cards. Where when you talk about modern, there's just not that, there might be a little bit of a rarity factor because of like really tough pull rates, but there's not really like the scarcity factor. And like I just don't it's I don't like to compare modern and vintage together and like because they're very distinct and very separate. I think the modern market moves very differently than the vintage market, where now the vintage market, in my opinion, I just see so much opportunity there, or so many cards that I think in the long term I'm like, oh, this card could be really good. And Australian Blastoids asked that question. I don't want to blow up your spot, but big shout out. Like he just picked up PSA 9 Umbreon from Aquapolis. Like I'm pretty sure he understands what I'm talking about when he's talking about cards that he sees long-term uptrends for. And that Umbreon, from Aquapolis, that card hits hard. That is a hard hitter card, and especially when you talk about hollows from that set. It's definitely, potentially number one, depending on who you ask. So it's just they're different, right? There's different risks. There's different potential, in my opinion. Now, I don't know. So Grump Brave said, it really never made sense to me that a first edition case would be considered to have more value sealed. Yes, the sealed aspect of it is entirely unique, but there's very real risk. When you talk about sealed product, especially vintage stuff, man, like it's tough, especially when you have a Charizard, as the chase card. And not only is it the Charizard, it's literally the Charizard, the Shadowless first edition Charizard, like the biggest, heavier hitter in the entire, hobby. Your chances of pulling a Charizard is like 8 out of 10 boxes. It's an 80% chance. Oh, if you crack 10 first edition booster boxes, like you could pull 2. Or sorry, if you crack 10 first edition booster boxes, you can pull 8 Charizards like on average, because you got to keep in mind base set has 16 hollows in it. You get 12 hollows per box, but out of those 16 hollows, only 15 of them were available in booster boxes, because one of them was the Machamp, which was only available in the 2-player starter deck. So out of 15 hollows, statistically speaking, you're going to pull 12 of the 15. Now, we've already seen it happen. Like the chances of pulling 2 Charizards are still relatively high. So really the chance of pulling doubles of any card. But then you always run the risk of not pulling a Charizard. If you watch Logan Paul's last box break that he did live on Whatnot, there were no Charizards pulled. It was actually like kind of a stinker of a box. And that's the thing. When you talk about crazy high prices for booster boxes, when you don't pull chase cards, like there goes all the value. And especially when and we talked about it for like these EX sets that have gold stars in it. You buy a gold star set, yeah, there's a couple good sets out there that have some good hollows, We've talked about it on this channel before. But some of these sets, like a EX Deoxys, if you don't pull a gold star, you're going to lose money. And really, even if there's 3 gold stars in that set, even if you pull the Latios or the Latias gold stars, you're still probably going to lose money. So like when you say like it doesn't make sense, like you're right. there's just so much of that gambling factor built into booster boxes and that perceived value of pulling the chase cards. But that's why the best advice most people are going to give you, unless you're like extremely wealthy, is just don't open these boxes. Because whether or not the prices that these booster boxes sell for really make sense is not here nor there. It is the fact that people value sealed product so much more. And now when you think about, that's the thing too, like sealed first edition booster boxes, we're getting to a very high dollar amount in the hobby when you're talking about these. And yeah, Logan Paul single-handedly like created that market, which is crazy to think about, because he's not like, he's a rich guy, obviously could afford to spend millions of dollars on Pokemon cards. But when you think about like his wealth compared to the rest of all the rich people in the world, like his wealth is very meaningless, when you, especially if you compared a Logan Paul to like somebody who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars. So if he, as somebody who's only worth millions, could influence this market as hard and as much as he has, it's like, man, what would somebody who had $1 billion, which who knows if a billionaire would ever actually join this hobby and start buying up the cards. I don't think they would do it as any sort of investment. I think they would do it more as they actually were super passionate about Pokemon and just want to own stuff. But if somebody with just a couple $1 million could move the market the way he did, because you think about it, he took a first edition booster box from, $100,000 overnight in one box break, made the new price point 240,000, and then after that made the price point now 500 or whatever, like 3.5 million divided by sixes, it's like 580,000, to now move that price point up around that area. And who knows if it's really that high, if people are going to value other boosters, but either way, it doesn't matter, right? Like he took a $100,000 booster box and made it a $300,000 booster box. What would somebody with $1 billion be able to do? Probably, first of all, be able to buy up every single card on the market. We would all be rich. We could all live together on a private island drinking pina coladas because we would all be millionaires. But and I've talked about it before, like how easy the Pokemon market is to manipulate if you wanted to. Because while Pokemon as a whole, as the entire hobby, every single card included at once, like, yeah, there is a lot of cards out there. But when you start to, pull back the layers and look at older sets, and you're like, there's only 40 of these cards graded in all of PSA out of 10. Like, how many of these cards will eventually be graded in the long run? Well, how hard is it realistically would it be to buy 40 cards? Some cards would probably be like logistically a nightmare for you because you would never be able to just find them, because it would be very hard to track down 100% of a PSA population of, like, let's just say any Skyridge card. Like, it would just logistically be very hard, but financially would probably be very feasible for most people. So you could literally like corner the population of one card or a few cards. So it's just something to think about, like how easy that this market really is to manipulate. So Simper said, why are card shops trying to sell out their modern Evolving Skies booster boxes for like $100, but Pokemon Center is selling them for 140-ish? 140-ish is just that weird arbitrary number that people came up with as the recommended MSRP price for Pokemon. It's a farce. It's not a true thing. Like, Pokemon Center has always priced their booster boxes at $140. And guess what? They always sat on Pokemon Center. They never, ever, ever, ever sold out. They were just always there. And then the hype came in and they cleared out Pokemon Center. And then there was, new collectors who, for whatever reason, I'll never really understand this completely, but would buy their booster boxes from Pokemon Center. Maybe because they thought Pokemon Center was a more legit seller and maybe they were safer buying booster boxes there. Maybe I'll give people the benefit of the doubt. But if you did even like, I don't know, really, really easy searches, you could find booster boxes for cheaper. And yeah, I don't know why they do that. I mean, even Target right now, I don't know if you last time you guys went on the Target website, but yeah, Target sells booster boxes now, and they have them priced at $150 per booster box. That's a lot of money for Chill and Rain booster box or whatever booster boxes they have up there. And I don't think it's sold by a third party. I think Target has just got into the Pokemon game. Now, I heard a rumor that, and I don't know how true this is, that Pokemon Center or not Pokemon Center, Target is potentially no longer selling ultra premium collections in store, and that all Target ultra premium collections will be sold online now. So if there's any truth to that, we could see a couple of those ultra premium collections trickle on pretty soon. If you guys do me a favor, if you're still watching this video, can you go down below and hit the like button? It really helps me out a lot. You guys know I don't ever ask you guys for anything. All I do is ask you just hit the like button once in a while, because my thought is if you hit the like button and the YouTube algorithm picks it up, maybe somebody will come across this channel who's never come across it before, and they'll just like it and they'll be able to have conversations with you guys and stuff. Grump Babe said, somewhat parallels the box break example. What value is added by sealed? What value is lost? What about the value added by breaking the sealed? Value lost, the equation never made sense. It never will. I think that's that weird thing with the pack breakers, right? Like pack breakers came in and started paying like extremely high premiums for booster boxes, and these pack breakers really were the catalyst to get the market for sealed product to really go crazy, because they could afford to spend, I don't know, what's like there you go, Team Rocket first edition booster box. They could spend $10,000 on that booster box, something that literally no one ever could have done. No one ever could have spent $10,000 on a Team Rocket first edition booster box, because that would be dumb. But a pack breaker can buy that and sell those packs for, I don't even know what they were selling for at the peak. I don't even want to say, because they're probably like, the price is probably like disgusting, make people throw up in their mouth a little bit. But if you can sell, 36 packs for $500 a piece, like you can spend $10,000 to pick up a booster box. That isn't even worth close to that. But now the market has changed and all this like stuff. And same thing with base set, You think about base set booster boxes at the height, we're selling for like $25,000. Can you imagine a base set, just regular, generic base set unlimited booster box selling for like 25 grand? That price doesn't make any sense. Like not even like in your wildest dreams does that price make sense. But like people were buying that stuff. And obviously the market corrected, and that's why the prices for those booster boxes have dropped like drastically, maybe close to like 50% they lost in value. But that was just the market correcting. That was the market saying, let's stop. This is something that doesn't make sense. Let's bring it back to something that does make sense. But that's the thing, right? Is while, in my opinion, like there is not a low supply of unlimited booster boxes, like for just regular base set unlimited, there's a lot of those booster boxes out there. But the thing you got to remember is that there's always a lag time from when those things go out of people's collections, go on to eBay or go on to PWCC or Heritage or whatever auction house that those are being sold through. There is a little bit of a lag time. So if somebody could come into the market and buy up every booster box of base set that's available on eBay or whatever, there can be that like very short-term illusion that these booster boxes are very scarce. And I think a lot of that is what happened, is people who had these booster boxes and they were like, all right, I'm ready to liquidate it. Like these prices are stupid. Like, let me get rid of my booster boxes. But you got to keep in mind, like I said, that lag time. So that has a huge impact on the market. So Quad Shot said, anyone else think Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs are kind of meh? Me personally, I'm a big Pokemon Center exclusive ETB fan. I say if you do want to go after ETBs, I would say go after the Pokemon Center ones. If you told me that if you said I'm going after ETBs no matter what, I would tell you to go after the Pokemon Center ones. And the reason why is because one, they're exclusive, and two, your price point that you're going to buy those Pokemon Center ETBs are literally going to be the lowest that anyone's going to buy it at. Because if you go to pick up at different booster boxes, you still have to compete with people getting them straight from distributor. Their price points are going to be very low. Where at Pokemon Center, nobody has distributor agreements with Pokemon Center. The price that's on the website is the price you're going to pay. It's the price that everyone else is going to pay. So in that way, at least you'll be on the same playing field price-wise. And that's one thing I like about those. So Stephen Donahue said, can you get a PSA 10 with a scratch on the hollow? Yeah, you can. Now, should you? No. The reason why I say is can you? And the answer is yes, because I have seen PSA 10s with scratches on the hollow, but they're never like super obvious. They're not like crazy print lines. I've seen some scratches on some hollows where for PSA 10s, I think I might have one downstairs that has a scratch on a hollow. But a lot of the times you'll see the scratch and it won't be like super easy to notice. And a lot of times the scratch will be almost like built into the background artwork of a card. So it will look like a scratch, or sorry, it will look like part of the artwork of the card or part of the hollow pattern itself. And so whoever the grader is, probably more likely than not, just missed the scratch. So to answer your question, yes, you can have a scratch on a hollow, but technically it should not be a 10, but they definitely get by. Now, if it is a super blatant scratch, like you're probably more likely than not going to get docked down to either a 9 or an 8, depending on how bad it is. So in my opinion, in my experience with PSA, the things I have, well, can't even say that. Never mind. I was going to say something really stupid. I was going to say in my experience, PSA looks at, corners, centering, edges, and centering, but I just realized that was literally like the 4 things PSA looks for. But with that said, I would say they look for, like, on the hollow wise, they look for print lines is definitely like the big thing. If you have a print line, PSA is just going to dock you. Like, they don't let cards get by with print lines. That's definitely one. And then centering is, I've seen some cards that are actually been pretty, like, the centering has been pretty bad, but they really look at the corners. Like, PSA is a stickler for corners. Now, I've definitely seen some PSA 10s that had like very slight edge wear. Actually, all right, that's to answer your question. Quadshot said, I'm just being patient. I think this is the beginning of the dip. If deals come by, I'll buy, but not really interested in paying market prices anytime soon. Good, man. I would say if you're patient like that and you're willing to sit and wait, my best advice I'd give you, because this is what works the best for me, is do this, man. Pick up raw stuff. Pick up raw stuff that is really good mint condition. And things that you think are, yeah, this Mewtwo EX, or, this Aerodactyl EX, or this Lapras EX, or the Espeon or whatever, like, say, okay, I think that this card is legit gem mint condition. Like, pick it up raw, because the prices you're going to make if this thing if this grade's a 9 or a 10, like, the profit margins are huge, Like, still today, even with the hype of this market, like, I don't know what these cards really sell for raw, but if I had to take a guess, I'd say, I don't know. This is a guess. Mewtwo EX from Ruby Sapphire and Gem Mint Condition Raw, probably like $70 ish, $60 ish, and that is like, and you could probably pick this card up in heavy play for less than 20. But I'm talking in, real quality, near mint condition. Probably pick it up for like $60, $70. Grade this card and make hundreds of dollars, or get a 9 and make $300 and triple or double your money. Like, I don't know. That's my opinion for you. Pokin Fun said, I think Pokemon breakers and channels needed / wanting product for opening videos are somewhat single-handedly by keeping sale products high, average entertainment value, and only way to sell. Yeah. Ancient Mew, good to see you in the chat, man. Just got a Machamp one for dirt cheap. Australian Blacksite's knowledge. What's a difficult collection of yours you have planned for the future? Doesn't matter for value or enjoyment. More meaning, challenging. So, I mean, in the long term, I have a bunch of I got a lot of goals. I don't know. That's the thing, is my collection goals are in a time-wise thing. Like, I think my collection goals will outlive me as a person. Like, my collection goals are so large that I just don't think that I will live long enough to complete them. Like, even if I'm lucky, I'm part of that 0.1% of the population that lives to be 100 years old. Like, even to live to be 100, I don't know if that's going to give me enough time to complete a lot of my collection goals. But I would say, to finish my collection goals, I'd say right now my big collection goals are complete master sets for all the EX series, talking complete. And then I'm working on, my Skyridge complete graded PSA collection with minimum grades of 9. Like that, I'm just having trouble finding some of the reverse hollows and stuff like that. I'm struggling with just picking up some commons and uncommons for some of these sets. Have a lot of these cards in 9. I just picked up 2 more reverse hollow Skyridge 9s tonight. One uncommon and one common. I just picked them up. Literally, that was why it took a little longer for me to go live on this video, is because I picked up 2. But that's a collection goal that is going to happen in the near term. And that would be one of those things that's just going to take a very long time. And another thing too is I'm very picky and very cheap. I don't want to do a lot of this stuff on the expensive end. So I wait for the good deals to come along. And it's just hard, man. Collection goals are not easy. They used to be easier, but then they used to not be. Even some of the older collection goals that I had were just not able to be completed in a timely manner, because I think everybody looks back at Pokemon in 2017 and they're like, oh, prices were so much cheaper. It's yeah, prices were cheaper, but some of these cards, some of these sets, like Diamond and Pearl and Heart Gold Soul Silver, and some of these Nintendo sets, some of these chase cards in near mint condition never come up for sale. Yeah, maybe they come up once in a while in heavy play. I'm sure you could type in level X and just, well, level X, you probably pull up all the stupid celebration level X's. Oh my God. Do you know how upsetting celebration level X's has made my search history on eBay? I used to be able to just type in Pokemon level X and look at, newly listed auctions or auctions ending soonest and pick up near mint ones. But oh my God, now it's just, that searching has gotten so much harder now because there's so many celebration level X, just like Zacians and all the other level X cards that Celebrations came out. Has made it very hard. And I used to very rarely, not all the time, but I would, once in a while hope to get lucky. I'd type in Umbreon 17/17 and hopefully get lucky, and somebody would put up a Umbreon from Pop Series 5, non-hollow, didn't know what they had, check items listed newest and maybe get lucky. But now, go ahead, try to type in Umbreon 17/17, see how many celebration cards you get. Celebrations, why I love this set, has made some of those cards that I was always chasing after on the cheap impossible now. Same thing with I know Nick, old school Pokemon. A lot of times I would search Shadowless Ninetales, because just hoping that somebody would post a Shadowless Ninetales and it would be a no damage Ninetales. It's just words that I would do like that. Or I don't know. There's just a lot of those cards that the searching has just become harder. I have like these certain, phrases that I constantly search. I don't want to give them away, but I have a couple that have been like really successful, but a lot of them that I just do is whatever like set I'm looking for, I'll just type in Pokemon and that year. So if like, I don't know, just like Pokemon 2007. And then I'll just look for Pokemon 2007 cards. Hopefully get lucky with lots, because for a lot of these hollows, you can go the route where you just buy like one card at a time. Anyone could do that. It's very time consuming to just get lucky or just search one card at a time. Like, that's why I tell you my collection goals, Australian Blastoise, are like never ending, and they will probably outlive me. I will die before I complete this stuff. So Quadshot said TCA listed an Expedition and Skyridge box, but at Buy It Now listing instead of auction. Quadshot, I know both of those. He listed the Skyridge box for $69,000. He listed the Expedition box for $39,000. Quadshot, I'll let you know right now. When Skyridge boxes or Expedition boxes go up for sale, I usually know. I do have my ear to the grindstone a little bit. I do see when that stuff happens. And yeah, I was pretty bummed out to see that. Now, I don't know. Skyridge box is definitely something on my collection goal list that I would like to have, but not at $69,000 and not at $50,000, which some people have like offered to sell them at. Like, I'm looking at Skyridge boxes. I don't know. Way less. I'm probably priced out. Honestly, I'm probably priced out of Skyridge at this point. It's sad. Priced out of so much stuff right now. Yeah. Well, everybody's like, oh, the market's dipping, the market's crashing. It's not crashing. And the crazy thing is, I had some opportunities to pick up Skyridge boxes in the past for like sub $6,000 and sub $7,000. I think one of them I passed was like $7,000, and that was recently. That was like very recently, a couple years ago, or 2 years, 3 years ago. But the thing is which I think is the hardest thing to like explain to people, is while the prices I'm selling stuff at now is higher and the prices I am paying for a lot of stuff now is higher, back then I was not willing to spend money as easily. And I don't know why that was. I think it was probably because I hadn't made as much from Pokemon to justify the prices. But for like a Skyridge booster box, for 3 or 4 or 5 grand, like even 4 years ago, like that would for me would have been like a lot of money to spend on Pokemon. And I wasn't really spending 4 grand on literally anything. But now, like, I would be very more willing to spend 4 grand on stuff, especially like some of these Art Academy cards and some of the more rare stuff that I'm looking at. But I wouldn't really consider doing that in the past. I don't know if that is just like me being a product of the new market, or me being a product of selling stuff for such a high value where now it's like, well, I can never lose money in Pokemon. I don't know if that's like a stupid psychological thing that I'm doing right now, where it's just like, I can never lose money in Pokemon. So now I could give myself the leeway to start making like bigger purchases, maybe. I don't know. Does that even make sense? I don't know. Sometimes it's weird when you're on a live stream, like trying to rationalize spending, 20 plus thousand, 30,000 on a booster box when you wouldn't spend 4 grand on it a couple years ago. So Ancient Muse said, what's your opinion on break cards? I don't hate break cards. They're very different. I wish break cards weren't like horizontal, but there's a couple good ones. Like the Lugia is nice. I don't really like, I don't know. There's a couple nice break cards, but honestly, they're so cheap. If you want to acquire a couple of them, acquire them. But the pull rates for break cards, it seemed was like, I think it was like 1 out of every 4 packs or something, or maybe it was probably higher than that, but it seemed like the pull rates are very high. There's a lot of break cards out there. You could probably pick up break cards for like $1 or $2. And honestly, you could probably just, if you want break cards, I'd say you could actually just pull them yourself. Like XY packs are still so cheap that you could probably just still open a couple XY sets just for fun. Let's see. I have cards with nothing wrong. I have a magnifying glasses, great light, and they seem to be trying to hold off on giving 10s to make them. Let's see. In theory, if CGC grades harder and you buy a strong 9, you should have a very good chance to get a strong PSA grade. That's a good comment, but I don't agree with it. The reason why is because I have now graded so many cards with CGC that I have had so many cards not get 10. Well, in fact, I got 0 cards get 10s at CGC. The cards that I know would have got PSA 9s that have gotten CGC 9. So I agree with you there. But this is the huge but. I have a lot of CGC 9s that would have potentially graded PSA 9s or lower. So the CGC 9 consistency is way off, in my opinion. Like I said, because there are some super, super strong CGC 9s and some super weak CGC 9s. So the only advice I could give you there is if you do want to go that route of cracking some CGC 9s and submitting to PSA for 10s, I think that's a viable option if you really look at the cards good. And now, if you guys are familiar with CGC, they all have the QR code on the back of every single label is a QR code. So anytime you want to buy a card, especially if it's on eBay and you can't really like get a good picture of it, or it's a little fuzzy and you're doing it with that thought in mind of cracking that slab in the future and resubmit it to PSA, do yourself a favor, just scan the PR or QR code and go to the CGC website. It's going to bring you literally right to the page of that card and look at the high res scan they give. Some of those CGC scans are like a little dark, almost like the lighting on those scans is pretty crappy, which doesn't make any sense. Like they're darker scans, some of them, but you should be able to like get very good looks at the cards. So you're not going to be able to see like surface issues or anything, but hopefully CGC picked up on those surface issues, and probably more likely than not that if it does have a major surface issue like an indent or something, it wouldn't have got a 9 in the first place. So yeah, definitely do your homework with that in mind. Like I'd say like it's like the best and worst advice I could give you is, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there cracking slabs, but there's a lot of areas where it could really hurt you too. So, and we're going to find out in the video I made where buying that Hypno GMA 10, if it's going to come back a 10 or if I'm going to break even. Let's see. So Keen said, I'm hoping to learn a lot from crossover grades. I have maybe 15 I want to cross over the PSA when prices are reasonable. Yeah, I'm the same way. One of the streams I had that I had to delete because the sound quality was terrible. I brought up a pile of cards that I plan on cross-grading in the future. So I don't know. I'm a big believer, and I don't send cards away for cross-grading in the slab. I crack all my slabs. I always have. I don't really know if that makes a difference or not, but in my opinion, it does. You always run the risk of damaging a card anytime you crack a slab, but I've done it enough that it's not a big deal. Yeah. Somebody was saying, Odina Lee Banks said, yeah, very easy to see an off-center card with the naked eye. Yes, that's true. Good advice I give you anytime you're looking for off-center cards is don't always look at the front. Look at the back too. Like, again, I show you this Mewtwo again. Like, that is a very good, well-centered card. But, like, the thing too is a lot of these EX cards, like, sometimes it's really hard to tell if cards are off center if you're not familiar with them. Like the way I do it is I have a couple like EX 10s downstairs and I'll take the card and I'll like try to line up and see if they match the 10, which is a weird way to do it. But I like try to line up the borders with my 10s and say, okay, does this 10 line up with my other 10? That's the only way I could do it. And the only way you can do that is you need to have a 10 in like every single set, because every single centering is a little different. Like especially some really super modern cards, I it's sometimes really hard to tell centering on stuff that like that in the front. Yeah, like some of the modern cards, like they have black borders around it, but some of these rainbow rares and full art cards, like your guess is as good as mine for like front centering on some of these. Unless you have a good comparable, it could be very tough. But yeah, more vintage stuff, definitely. Centering is very good. Um, if you guys like off-centered like cuts cards, Gem Mint Pokemon, just his most recent video, he had a like an error card video, and he had a bunch of good miscuts on there. Grump Brave said, yeah, stay away from 8.5 centerings or even 9 centerings. You want to know my big, I got a lot of problems with CGC, but one of my biggest problems with CGC is the surface issue grades they've hit a lot of my cards with. I've gotten like a lot of 8.5s that literally kept me from either a 10 or a 9.5 because over 8.5 surface grades. And I feel like every time I have a really solid like contender, it'll be like 10 edges, 10 corners, 9.5 centering, and then they hit me with like the 8.5 surface. Oh, and like that's the conspiracy theorist in me thinking that they're just constantly trying to keep those like 10s. I don't know why they would do that. I don't even know. I'm done with CGC. I'm never grading with them again. Uh, so let's see. If CGC had a Gem Mint 10, they'd take tons of Beckett's Market. Well, CGC does have a Gem Mint 10. They have two different 10s. CGC has the pristine 10, so that's like three 10s with one 9.5, and then CGC also has the perfect 10. So they do have that. So I don't know. They technically have a black label. It's just called the perfect 10 instead of the pristine 10. Uh, all right. Dang. My son's crying in the background, and I asked my wife to please take care of him while I was doing this live, but I think she probably fell asleep. So listen, guys, I appreciate every single one of you guys tuning in. I wish I could do this a little longer, but I can't. If you could do me a favor before I turn off this stream, if you could go down below, hit the like button. It really helps me out a lot. But other than that, guys, I'll catch you on the next video.